What is up, everybody? Welcome for the first time. We're back to another Dljworks video, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've been making a lot of Vimeo OTT content videos, but this is a video I actually want to make opposite to a video I made maybe a couple of years ago in 2018, and it was titled "The Black Struggle in Technology." Well, today I'm going to talk about the Black success in technology and how you can actually be one of those if you are African American watching this video, and if you're not, you'll still get something of value from this. So stick around for it right after the intro. Okay, so this video is going to be twofold. So I'm going to be talking to you directly through my iPhone camera as you're seeing right now. And then I'm going to speak to you through the screencast here because there's some things that I actually want to show you in terms of bullet point. So in the video, when I actually just reviewed it, and this is what prompted me to actually make this video today, when talking about the Black struggle in technology, we're talking about certain deficiencies in terms of African Americans' ability to code and why there is a lack of Black people in the tech sector. And there's several reasons for it. Multiple media. Popular media would like you to think that, you know, companies are just racist and they're just not hiring Black people. Well, I tend to think on the opposite end of that spectrum. And I'm actually in public education, so I'm actually seeing this from a firsthand perspective as well. But to be honest with you, there really aren't just there's not a lot of Black people really getting into it. From my personal experience, there's a lot of people of my ilk, my culture, who are still a little apprehensive because they think coding is hard. They think actually building technologies is way beyond their skill set. They don't have the right mentality. They have this fixed mindset. God, I hate to go academic and really PBS school with this, but they really do have a fixed mindset instead of having a growth mindset when it comes to being able to learn how to code. And there's actually a video that I show my students because I actually teach technology classes, but I show my students my classes, of which I teach all races. I showed them the video where it was Leo Grand and it was Patrick McConaughey, and it was the homeless, you know, the Silicon Valley programmer. He was in New York at the time, and he teaches this homeless man how to code. And Leo Grand actually built trees for cars. And the reason I showed them that is because, you know, Patrick McConaughey got a lot of flack for that video, for that project, because they thought he was just doing it so he can get some personal clout, because he's just randomly taking this homeless guy off the street to just show him how to code. And you know, he thought he was doing it for his own benefit. Why sit up here and make a YouTube video and get into popular media about it, where you could have just been humble and done this thing under the table? But I'm actually glad he did it, because it gave me an opportunity as a teacher to show it to my students that, you know, if you have to work at this, it's not going to come naturally. And we need to get rid of these limiting beliefs that if I'm not born smart, and that's one thing I wanted to say earlier, you have to be born smart in order to learn how to code, and that's not necessarily true. Another thing is that you have to be really good at math to learn how to code. You know, math frightens a lot of people, but if it's a weakness for you, you have to just get better at it. But I actually want to argue, because I'm taught English as well, and from what I've learned too, from what has helped me actually continue in this field, is my ability to critically think and break down large amounts of text. Now, I'm not saying math doesn't help, because there are a lot of conventions that go into when you're talking about mathematics, and you're talking about naming conventions and that sort of things with variables, integers, and that sort of thing. And coding, yeah, there is a lot of that language that goes into it, but really what doesn't get spoken about is the actual aspect of your brain that you actually need to do and use when is looking at text, analyzing it, figuring out what certain characters are missing, because if there's one character missing in a piece of code, it just throws everything out. And now you have these builders, these tools where it simplifies code, but you still need to learn how to code, because you have to understand the standards, the principles, and everything else that just goes into programming, even if you're using a web builder like Webflow or something along those lines. So you have a lot of people that just think that coding is just super hard, and that's not necessarily true. Now, I don't want to get into the percentages and numbers in terms of why companies aren't hiring more, I guess, African Americans, but the honest to God truth that doesn't get talked about media much is that there's just not a lot of people that just have the skill set. And actually, if you look at just African American boys today, they just don't know how to read. And I've actually seen as a teacher the trajectory of a kid who is a very low reader. They end up becoming a behavior issue, and then they're going through the grade levels, still being a very low reader, not being able to retain, not being able to comprehend certain things that's right in front of them, not being able to understand certain simple conversations and that sort of thing. And then they're going down this road to where they're going to be easily taken advantage of. They get into a life of crime. It's so funky when they do not know how to read, and it's something that's just so understated. Now, I know this is a tech channel, this is a tech video I'm supposed to be doing, but I mean, when you're deficient in those skills, such as something as simple as reading and being able to critically read, code is going to really intimidate you, especially when you get into looking at large amounts of text. So you may argue and say that, well, I hate reading, and I don't spend hours in a book or anything like that. And that may very well be true, but you may not like to read, but if you read something, your comprehension, your critical thinking ability may be so to where you don't have to sit up here and read every single day. I'm an avid reader. I like to critically break down and analyze text and make certain connections and really try to think of hierarchies and how certain things connect. And it's the same way in coding as well. So we're going to jump right into it and go over some bullet points here, because I want to really give you some things that will really help you if you're really trying to get into this profession, and break it down, because there are going to be some things such as if you're not going to school for it, what do you need to do as a self-starter? Also, you need to put out content. You need to pick a channel, platform. I'm gonna give you 3 specific platforms that you can use that will really benefit your professional pursuits in this field, as well as some other things. Also, shout out to the It Factor. I interviewed with him, but I'm not shouting him out just because I interviewed with him, but with the It Factor, and I'm gonna link to his channel here in this description. He interviews all types of African Americans that's in these high level positions, and they talk about their stories and their journeys getting into these fields with challenges and roadblocks they had to get over there. So shout out to Jeremy Robinson for creating that channel. It's highly underrated, and I hope it blows up. It's gonna blow past my channel because he's more consistent than I am. So Jeremy, if you're watching this, man, big shout outs to you. Hope we connect down the line and everything else. But man, without further ado, let's get right into this screen here. Okay, so this is the second part of the video, and though the earlier part of the video was specifically targeting African Americans, those in my same culture, this video is specifically for everybody, especially this part. So let's just jump right into it. So number one, if you want to have success in this field, all right, if I could give you a roadmap per se, you don't know where to begin. These are 7 steps you can actually dive right into to help you easily get off the ground, to kind of have some guidance and some sort of like goalpost, almost some way to get to the goalpost. Number one, determine if school, computer science specifically, is right for you. Now, there's other tech degrees you can get, like information technology and that sort of thing. Even I went to DeVry, and I get a lot of flack for going to DeVry, but I don't regret it at all. And I have a web graphic design 2-year degree. I wanted a digital trade, which is the reason why I went to DeVry. And this was back in 2011 to 2013, and it served me well. So but you need to make that determination. If you feel better about going to school and getting a computer science degree to support and back you up in your pursuits, then I would recommend that. Just have a plan to pay off the debt that you're going to accrue, or you may not even have debt. A lot of people like to say that college is a lot of debt. That's true. You could actually get grants. You can actually get a scholarship. However you're doing this, especially if you're in high school watching this video right now, you're making that determination, or you just got graduated from high school. You never went to college. There's a long gap in between the time that you actually went to school, left high school, and now you want to go back. This is something you need to actually consider. All right. Now, there are a lot of companies that are still looking to see if you have a degree. There's a lot of YouTubers that like you to believe that, companies aren't looking for you to have a degree, but that's not necessarily entirely true. And probably what's going to be more important, whether you have a degree or not, is if you have a portfolio or somebody has seen your skill set, which let's go into number 2 and actually talk about being self-taught in programming. Now, I'm talking about more specifically programming right now. I'm not talking about really the design aspect, though we can consider that, but this is more so if you're getting into coding and programming. So if you're self-taught, that means that you could pursue things such as Treehouse, freecodecamp.org. There's a lot of free coding resources that you can actually jump right into. And usually the trajectory, especially if you're trying to learn code on the web, is excuse me, HTML, CSS. Those are the two foundational building blocks. Learning those, all right, which shouldn't take you that long at all. Then migrating into JavaScript. And actually, I would actually suggest that you could probably stay in the lane of JavaScript, because JavaScript right now is pretty multifaceted in a lot of things that you can actually build gaming applications, use it for web building, back-end technologies, all sorts of things. Even if you're trying to build like Angular and React, those sorts of things, frameworks. You're trying to build frameworks, JavaScript based. So you can actually stay in that lane, but you need to start having projects. So you're learning the language, but you need to have an end goal. Okay, what am I going to do? It's like this is going to sound horrible. I'm not going to even use that analogy. Let's just keep it as straightforward as possible. So you have all this JavaScript knowledge, this coding knowledge, but what's the end result? What's the end game with it? Are you trying to build a game with it, or are you just trying to do some functionality on a website? What are you trying to do? You have to have something tangible that could be seen and technically felt when you're actually pursuing that. So you need to if you're doing self-taught route, you need to have some projects under your belt to showcase what you know and demonstrate that. So whether you're self-taught or have a bachelor's degree, you have to share what you know. And there's three platforms I'm going to suggest. And you notice there's not Facebook, there's not Instagram, there's not Twitter, anything like that. But why did I suggest YouTube, LinkedIn, and Medium.com? Well, more specifically, to me, this is a trifecta. This is a trifecta platforms that's going to be very beneficial in terms of you putting out the right content. You're not just sitting up here. See, with the other platforms, you'll be tempted to put out some silly, playful, other types of crap that you don't really need to put out. But if you're intentional, with YouTube, LinkedIn, and Medium, on YouTube, you see that I have a channel. Mostly it's all, educational based. It's serious. It's intended to teach somebody something to where they get some value in their life. And it's very reciprocal, because here's the thing. I don't know why I'm coughing so much. Excuse me. Here's the thing. Whatever you learn, if you're able to teach it, that will be a clear indication in terms of how well you actually know your coding base, how well you've grasped your coding knowledge. If you're able to actually, showcase it back out, shell it back out to another audience, that would be an indication of you of how well do I actually know. Let's say, for example, you focus just on learning JavaScript. Immediately when you start, even if you don't have a degree, if you begin to learn something, you start sharing it, making videos, getting some screencast-o-matic, software. I have a link in the description for that as well. So check that out too, because that's what I'm using to make this video right here. But sharing what you know, your knowledge base, putting yourself out there as the expert. Forget all these dumb thoughts of like, I've only been in coding for like a month. I don't know much of anything. If you've been in coding for a month, and depending on what you're building with that code, you're far more ahead of the game than a lot of people that's out there right now. You may even be further than I am. And I've been at this for like 11 years almost. So you want to be able to put this out there, and that's what YouTube is going to serve. Start building a library of what you actually know. Start sharing. Start building some cool projects. There's people that's using their JavaScript knowledge to freak Super Mario games, and even with CSS, they're freaking and recreating like Super Mario games and taking the CSS to make like whole Pac-Man art, so you can figure out, once you actually have a firm grasp of that knowledge, you can really do some really cool things with it, which brings me into the next platform of LinkedIn. Now, we know, if you don't know, LinkedIn is supposed to be a professional platform. A lot of people will argue that it's going the way of Facebook right now, but I still beg to differ. It's still very much so a very professional platform. You can actually earn and test for the skills that put yourself to the test, so you can get get a certificate through LinkedIn's offering. And they do offer several like programming certificates. I have a CSS certificate, cascading style sheet certificate, demonstrating I have an expertise in terms of knowing CSS. So you can actually take those tests, and then when you actually take it, you'll rank higher in terms of what people are looking for, and getting an expert in a certain coding field base. You can actually put out knowledge and put out helpful knowledge that'll show what you know. And maybe even I have a friend that I have on LinkedIn that always shows that he's always taking a course and accomplishing something. All right. But you want to maybe put some short video clips in terms of how to maybe execute this cool little function, and you just freaking people out with it, you know. So that is the purpose of LinkedIn. So, and then with medium.com, you can actually write how-to tutorials. You can actually put out written content. Medium is going to be for the written content. So if you're able to formulate long form how-tos or demonstrations, you know, of what you know, of how to teach somebody something else, it's going to be highly valuable, and that's going to put you in a position where you're looked upon as an expert, and people won't even consider if you have a degree or not. They'll just know that, man, this guy he knows what he's talking about, or this gal she knows what she's talking about right now. So maybe I should like hire them for this specific job, and I could probably put them to the test and see what they know and how they can actually help me out. So medium.com, LinkedIn, YouTube. I can't stress those enough. There's so much more to talk about those three platforms, but those are the three I would highly recommend you jump right on. Get a YouTube channel, get a LinkedIn profile, get a medium.com account, start writing, start putting pieces of content out there, start sharing your knowledge, your thoughts, and once you actually start learning about these things, you'll start to articulate your own opinion and your own insight, adding even more to the discussion of what's already being had out there. So that's something that you can do. Number 5, if you're interested, you can begin to create knowledge products such as courses and books, which is what I actually got into the process of doing, is taking everything that I know right now and putting it in course form. Because with courses, from what I've learned, because my mentality, I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty of this. My mentality used to be that, why do I need to buy a course if I have YouTube, if it's out there for free? And to an extent, that's still true. But with a course, more than likely, the person has invested so much time in building a course that is more organized, it's more succinct. There's more. It's just more intentional. It's more structured when you get a course. It's from A to Z, and you notice you're being taken on a journey from here to here versus just watching a YouTube playlist that may very well not be as structured or anything like that. And people are willing to pay for courses and be able to teach you some things. And then with courses, I found out is that the teacher, the person who made the course, has some sort of executional game plan for you, where you're given homework to actually see if you're able to put into action everything that you've learned. So, but a lot of people buy courses and they just feel good that they bought the course. So if you buy a course, you don't want to be one of those people. But if you sell a course and your students are doing that, then that's the student's problem. Okay, that's the student's problem. But if you're able to take your knowledge of what you're learning and being able to put it from A to Z in a course, that's going to be beneficial for you, because it's going to cement you more even as an expert. And this is with you not having a degree. All right. If you have a degree, it's a bonus. But, you know, bring the world of degree and online marketing and all this online marketing stuff together, and it's going to put you out there. Now, number 6. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to lie to you. I hate this narrative of everybody the internet just going wild of just being an introvert. I hate this push. Everybody's an introvert. I'm an introvert. Like, why is being introverted so celebrated? As being extroverted is this bad thing. It's almost as if people want to celebrate staying in the house and staying behind a computer screen and hiding behind it, and just being able to say, I don't have any social skills. I suck at talking to people, so I'm glad I could be an extrovert. I'm glad the internet is here so I can hide and continue to band-aid the fact that I don't have any social skills. And you may argue with me like, being an introvert isn't all about not having social skills or anything. It's just, you know, I just don't like people. Come on, get out of here with that. Get out of here with that. Go from introvert to extrovert. Because if you're doing all these things, you're putting yourself out there, people are going to want to talk to you. People are going to want to talk to you. And I mean, you can't just deal with people behind the screen. And actually, when people get to see you face to face, a lot of problems that end up happening that get misinterpreted online can easily be squashed when you see somebody offline and going from there. Now, we have like excellent tools like Zoom and that sort of thing, because we are internet dependent right now, especially in this case, in our time, in this climate, we're internet dependent. So, but that doesn't mean that you're going to stay introverted. That doesn't mean you're going to stay introverted. It just doesn't. So if you're doing all these things, the consequence is going to be that you have to be extroverted. You have to learn how to do online networking, getting out there, joining communities. And this is going to bleed into number 7, so I'm going to go ahead and cover that as well. But joining communities, especially if you have a YouTube channel and it's blowing up, you made to get the offer to have your own YouTube community. So you're being able to talk to people, help them out, post things, kind of poll people to see what kind of content they want you to make. The market can actually speak to you rather you dictating to the market. Offering to help and being supportive to others by sharing your skills to solve their problems is going to put you in a high position that you never even thought possible. So you want to leave this whole world of being introverted. I don't know why this narrative is just being thrown out there. I guess I could go down the predictive route, the conspiracy route, and kind of see that, maybe it's the push to keep people more inside, I guess. But being extroverted, I found is more beneficial than being introverted. To just sit up here and think you can just gonna throw something out there online and never having to talk to people is dumb. To even think that is completely foolish, because it's only by being having a mentality of adding value to other people's lives and being helpful and not being selfish and just thinking that the people out there is there to serve you and you not serve them is crazy. It's super crazy. So, and that's the thing about being another misconception. That's why I made the Arrogant program. I'm going to continue to make that cartoon series here in a little while. But if you go back and you check that other episode out, you tend to get programmers, just because they have this, they start feeling like gods because they have access to this knowledge that also not the rest of the world has access to acquire right now. I can go into the whole alchemical story and having access to something that the rest of the world, some secret knowledge the rest of the world doesn't have access to. You start to feel godlike and powerful or something. I don't know. It gets romanticized scientifically in that way, because you are a program, you have this knowledge base that a lot of people, they just don't have, and it just reinforces this notion that it's okay for you to be an introvert and never talk to people because you're a god and you sit amongst immortals above mortal men. It's crazy to me. But anyway, that's my rant for this part of the video. But yeah, this is a roadmap for you, whether you are self-taught or you're actually determining if school is right for you. If you go from number 3 on down to number 7, if you follow that, you should be golden. Now, I can't really tell you specifically what coding base you should learn, but I'm going to suggest start with HTML and CSS, but don't stay there. Really try to master JavaScript, and you won't ever really master, but really get advanced at executing and putting out JavaScript applications. You're going to have that's a golden skill right there right now. All right, it's a golden coding base, because a lot of things run on JavaScript, and you can actually build video games just using JavaScript through HTML5, Canvas, and some other platforms. So yeah, this is just it. I really wanted to share this information because I'm kind of tired of people saying that this is a hard field to get into. That may very well be true, but just like you have the opportunity to create anything at this moment in time, you have a lot of opportunity to work at this, get better, and cement yourself into a position that you never had the opportunity before without having school in mind. So if you're able to get access to a computer, which you should if you have a phone, or if you're in school right now, you're watching this at a high school where they're providing students with free technology, then you have to take ownership of your own learning. That's one of the things I'm trying to teach my students right now as well, is take ownership of your learning. So that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you found helpful about it. I would love to talk to you about it in the comment section below. So definitely we'll see you guys soon. Love y'all. God bless y'all. See you in the next video.